It's snowing on the eastern shore of Virginia. I made a pizza peel for this year's 2015 Kitchen Utensil Challenge. For this project, I started off with some basic pine boards that you can get from the hardware store, and I decided on a 3-foot length for the handle. I then marked off 4 16-inch sections. This will make up the paddle part of the peel. First cut off the 3-foot section for the handle. I then used my panel sled for cutting the 16-inch sections. This was the easiest way. I just used the built-in clamp to hold the stop block. And I cut 4 sections of 16 inches each. These don't have to be perfect just yet because we're going to trim them up. I test fit to see how well everything was going to join up. I found that the joint lines were not exactly perfect. I also marked the board joints so I could keep the order correct. I just used hash marks. Use the joiner to run the edges through just a couple of times each. Testing the fit as I went. I found that only a couple of passes was needed. I then marked the center for orientation of the boards. This would help later on for glue up. I ran the boards through the table saw with the jointed edge against the fence to make sure everything was square and parallel. Now I have good tight glue joints. Lots of clamps. I chose to use Type Bond 3 for this project. This was the first time using Type Bond 3, and I used it because of its waterproof capability. Put some slight pressure on the bar clamps just to hold everything in place and get the joint lines straightened up. And like I said, lots of clamps. Lots of clamps to keep everything from shifting around and to keep the boards flat. Wiped away as much glue excess as I could, as much squeeze out. There wasn't a whole lot. And we'll let this dry. Once I took the clamps off, I was pretty happy with the initial glue up. There was some squeeze out, but we'll clean that up. Whenever I use a card scraper on a large panel like that, I like to clamp some kind of stop bar and use that to hold the piece, and then I'll just use my card scraper to clean up the glue joints. This didn't take a whole lot of effort. Looks pretty good. I did initial sanding with my Rambit Orbit sander. I then squared up the end edge of the paddle. This will help for aligning the template. But before I do that, I mark 1/2 inch in on each side of the handle. This is the width that I'll cut the handle to. I just kind of freehand drew out a paddle based on some that I'd seen online and made a cardboard template. Flip it over and do the other side. And by doing it this way, you get an exact mirror image. I then continued those lines on the handle down to the end of the handle. I used a cutoff from a turning project to draw out some curves. I found the easiest and safest way to cut this out was with the jigsaw, since my bandsaw is not quite big enough. Then use my router table with a 1/4 inch roundover bit to round over all the edges. And I did this on both sides. I wanted to put a taper on the front edge to make it easier to get up underneath the pizza. So I put a chamfer bit in the router table, and now I'm marking where I'm going to put that chamfer, where the start and stop point is. I now use a small block plane to blend the taper in and give it a little bit more of a natural look, since it left a fairly sharp edge. I did this on both sides of the board. I then do a final sanding with the Rambit Orbit sander, starting with a fairly rough grit and then going down to a fairly high grit. I found that this was all it was needed. I didn't have to do any more hand sanding. I then wanted to cut a small hole in the handle for hanging, so I use a 5/16 bit to create the two curved ends of the hole. It's more of a slot. And then I just freehand drew the connecting lines. Drilled both ends of the slot with the 5/16 bit. I then used my fret saw to cut out the waste. Use a small chisel to clean up the cut and square it up a little bit. Then use a small utility knife to chamfer or round over the inner edge on both sides. A little bit of sanding to refine the hole and just smooth it out. I used cutting board oil. Since I want this to be food safe, I felt this was the best finish. So here it is, the finished pizza peel. It was fun to make, and it was easy to make, and didn't take a whole lot of time or tools, and I actually got to use some hand tools that I don't usually use in a lot of my projects, so that was a lot of fun as well. So now it's your turn. We're challenging you to make something, make a video and post it. Myself, along with about 35 other YouTube woodworkers, are posting videos today, on Friday, of all of our utensil challenge builds, and we're looking forward to seeing what you can come up with. So as always, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.